Brett Ratten, welcome aboard. How are you, mate?
Good, Ed. How are you, mate?
Mate, you watch that. Do you just sit back and think, well, geez, we do a lot of things great in football, but when it actually comes to the game itself, we're going around in circles at the moment.
Well, the AFL have said they're, introducing it, and I think it's good because, as the Blair incident with the Essendon game where it sort of came off his foot or around his ankle there, if they would have called that a point, it would have been, bad for the game because it would have cost the Magpies 4 points. But I think it's a step in the right direction. If we have this technology, why not use it?
Mate, you can get this on the internet for $250. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, the point there with the EPL, they've realised they've got an issue. They've now realised you've got the technology. Maybe we didn't have it before. They've worked it out and now they're going to implement it. We've gone with less technology than we have at the grand final, and those games up in the Gabba and over at AAMI Stadium, the camera's in the complete wrong positions to make those calls.
Well, I think they will review it as it goes through, and I think more of these decisions that are made on game day and they can't get a conclusive result, I think they'll put these cameras
well,
in.
I've just shown two, so that should be it, shouldn't it?
Well, hopefully it gets pushed forward.
Before we talk about the Blues, let's talk about the sliding tackle. We've had legislation on the run again this week. What have you told your players to do tomorrow night?
We haven't had too many players that have been involved in these incidents because, I suppose the blokes that we've had around the ball have kept their feet or it just hasn't occurred. So we've just asked our players to attack the ball and mainly hold their feet. That's probably the key. And we've just had, I suppose, a couple which have been close and we've had a look at and just tried to change the technique of some of our players. But we've just said, don't change too much, just keep going for the ball.
Brett, let's have a look at some of the tackles we've picked out from this round. Now, that's Phil Davis. Now, that is exactly what we don't want to happen. He nearly got himself killed. That was a good one there from Luke Townsend. And Marty Clark slid in here last night. No one quite knew what to do there, I wouldn't have thought. But,
well, the idea is to allow the players to go for the ball. And if we start to change that, then I think we need to look at the rules. But I suppose sometimes the players are trying to draw a free kick or trying to put themselves in to get the ball first. It is a tough one. It's a split second, and players get it wrong sometimes.
Mate, you won 3 best and fairest in a premiership by being a hard-at-it footballer. What was your rationale going into a game of football? Was it the one that everyone had been told all their life? Make the ball your object and the umpires and the rules will look after you?
I think it is the same with coaching. It's playing or coaching, that's the main thing. If you've got the ball, that's you keep it off the opposition. So we've got those philosophies from, I think, when the game started to it'll keep going.
Do you agree that it's... go back to 2004, and I'm going to roll an incident in a moment.
Yep.
And I was calling the game. It was North Melbourne over at AAMI Stadium, and Glenn Archer, who was the absolute role model for what you have to do at going hard at the ball. And it was when the AFL decided the players were diving in, pulling the ball under, and then they were red hot on giving a free kick. Now we've seen the guys sliding in, and it's fair to say they slide in because you can protect yourself and also get the ball out from the entrance. So you slide in, open the door, get it out the back. So the players adapt to it, but it all goes back to the fact that the AFL changed the rule in the first place that stopped players going in for the ball. Let's go back to 2004 and have a look at, well, this was the first one. If they reckon Don McLean said this is the day the music died, I reckon this is the day footy died.
Watch this. Goes again. Bang! In he goes. Beats the player because he wanted the ball, then was dwelled upon. No chance of getting the ball out, and that frustrates everybody. Glenn Archer should get a medal. Instead, he gives a free kick away.
Now, Glenn Archer told us during the week he actually looked at that the other day and he still got shudders. He couldn't believe that he'd given away a free kick. I mean...
It's a tough one when the player is that brave and puts himself in that position. I think it should be play on or just reward that effort. I think it's more the ones that the players roll over or try and trap the ball in because they're outnumbered or it's in a bad spot to knock the ball out.
But we've evolved on that now. We give players plenty of time to get it out, and if they don't get it out, they get pinged.
Yeah, I think it's two ways. I think if we allow it to keep going with players diving on the ball, I think we'll have 100 and something stoppages per game and it'll be very scrappy. I think there needs to be a balance, and I think that Archer's display of great courage is what we want to see in the game because, not too many players can do that when you're confronted with blokes coming in that hard. We want to see that in our game, but we don't want to evolve back to 125 stoppages per game. So it is a balance.
OK, so I'm going to make you the rules in charge of the rules committee.
Yep.
What should the rule be for diving on the ball or getting the ball in or sliding?
I think it's a tough one because all the cases are nearly independent. I don't think we can say there's one rule. It doesn't fit all the situations. I think it does change and varies because We can see players that just trap it in or hide it or lay on the ball to try and, stop the flow of play, and then there's acts like we just seen then.
So dare I say it, we go back to the umpires interpreting the rules.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're going to go full circle. We're going to go back to where we were. Hey, mate, congratulations on this Mother's Day. Little baby Tilly Mary, and we've got a nice shot of you. She came at the right time too for you and Joe. She
did. It was just brilliant timing, and it worked out really well. We got back from Fremantle and weren't sure when it was going to happen, and it just worked out brilliant, and everything's going well. Mother's Day wasn't exactly a true Mother's Day. I had to go to work and train this morning, but Joe was great. So.
And your two boys, you had to wake them up early on in the morning and ship them off back to their mother, and then you've had your own. With little Tilly Mary there. It's a hard blended lifestyle these days for people, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and we had Georgia there trying to get ready for Mum to give her breakfast in bed as well. So it is awkward at times, but it's a balancing act, and she's sleeping pretty good, so the eyes aren't quite hanging out of my head.
Mate, tell me what it was like when you're under the hammer, when you're listening to Carlton fans ring up all the radio stations, calling for your neck, reading the websites. I don't know if you look at them or not, but you hear all the stories and all the things going on when everybody was trying to say that you couldn't coach, and a little bit later down the track, the Blues are going beautifully and it's all coming together. What was it like at the time when the Carlton faithful turned on you?
I suppose I learned something from you get players into your club, and to have Chris Judd at your football club, he hasn't just taught some of the younger players some lessons, but he actually taught me a real lesson early doors when he spoke about not looking at the media and the papers and things like that. So I didn't really hear it. You'd have someone text you or a friend, geez, they're getting into you or something like that. It was what? I didn't hear it. So I don't really have a look at the papers. I might flick through if I've got to do a press conference or something like that, so I know the topics that are floating around. But I can't control that, and I don't worry about it. And I think our club's been in a pathway that we want to continue, and it takes a bit of time. I don't think people can flick, get a top 10 draft pick in and just go flick, and he's going to be the best player at your football club. It takes time, and we're starting to see some of the fruits from our work, and the development programs that we've had in place and the people that we've had around has allowed us to probably take a bit of time. And I'm glad we haven't jumped up the ladder too quickly, because at our football club the pressure would have been enormous, but just to have that, I suppose, progression, and that's what we're after, about sustained success. It's not about trying to jump straight to the top, it's about trying to be there for a long time, because we were down for a while and we didn't like it, and we were down there for too long.
And you had all those good players coming into the club, but it takes a bit of time. Even if they're number one draft picks, they're still 17, 18 years of age. So it takes a little while to get some time into a Matthew Cruiser and into these types of players, and even a Mark Murphy, for them to develop. And, and you're right, you've got to keep thickening up the soup each year, don't you, before you become a real contender.
Well, I use I've spoke to some of our boys about, Leon Davis. Leon took a bit of time to play, and I think it was, even talking to Brownie and Richo from Collingwood days, he took around 60 games, and when he sort of hit that 60, 70 games, he really became a great player of the competition and started to inject himself into the game and really have an influence. And I think sometimes players just take that time to start to believe in themselves and to maybe get a fitness base as well. So it takes a little bit of everything. And
for you also to get your own team around you, granted they are all Collingwood blokes, you've got Paul Williams, Gavin Brown, Alan Richardson. Breaks my heart saying those things.
Well, you took Matty Lappin, so we thought that might be...
We'll claim Jeff Walsh as well, but and Greg Swan's over there as the CEO as well, all trained at Collingwood, so that's the influence. But you've got your own team together, and having Sticks there as the president, has that made an impact for you as well? Because if ever there was a Carlton bloke, it's blokes like you and Sticks.
Yeah, some of our conversations have been fairly frank and direct. I think that's because you've got a great relationship with each other and played together and known each other. So that's been easy to have we don't have to speak a lot, but when we speak, it's really frank and straight to the point, and that's really helped, I think, our relationship. And, Andy McKay coming back on board this year has been just brilliant for us to allow us to probably, get the glue between everyone at the football club, especially, with the way we set up upstairs and downstairs. It's really helped us.
Here was my next question. How big an impact has Andrew McKay been? Coming from the AFL, so he understands what goes on at headquarters, pulling it all together, Carlton bloke, came from South Australia, so he's got a good feel for a lot of things like that. And of course, the vet, and I don't know if your dog's sick or anything, but he's just about got all things covered, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think Richo brought his dog in to let Macca fix him up. So he's been brilliant. I think knowing what works at the AFL, and from a club point of view, he's had to sort of adjust to that. But what we know is his love for the football club and what he wants is success, and I think that's just brilliant for us. And we, as coach and footy manager, we can have our debates, but you always know at the end of the day, he's trying to get the best out of everyone, and he wants the right thing done by the club.
A Ross and Vision, just to make you feel good the night before a big game, mate. We'll go back to 1995, a best and fairest season in a premiership year and a dominant year. When you started playing as a bloke who was almost blind in the back pocket, couldn't see the ball, and then went into the midfield and became one of Carlton's greats. There was plenty of people who had their knocks on you early doors as a player, and you've had to battle through even as a coach now. You're a tough man, and it must stand you in good stead to know. And I'm just looking at Fraser Brown, who's been one of your staunchest supporters all the way through.
Yeah, it's I suppose when you look at the Vision, it brings back memories, and it feels so long ago. But I think everything in life takes a lot of hard work, and I don't think sometimes people can do it naturally, and sometimes they've got to work a bit harder than other people. I know my deficiencies, and I think we'd be very naive to think that you go into, as a player or a coach, and think that you're going to do everything, and trying to get people around you that can assist you. I was never the fastest player, so I always gave it to the fast blokes to try and make you look good, or those types of things. When you're a coach, I think it's really important to make sure that you know your deficiencies and you work with people around you.
One of the hard things to do is to get rid of a player like Brendan Favola. He's in the next studio doing Dancing with the Stars as we speak. Yep. There was no joy in that for anybody at Carlton. It was a shocking and hard thing to do. But you've got Lockie Henderson, who's now bearing fruit. And the blokes, everyone who's begging for getting rid of Fev now is giving 3 cheers to Lockie Henderson. Is that the hardest thing sometimes, to get the plan out to the people without actually telegraphing it? That sometimes people just have to back in the administration and go with them?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think sometimes the decisions that are made at the football club, people can't see exactly what's happening, why it's happening. But I think it's more about the long-term view. And I think to get Henderson in and Kane Lucas at pick 12, I thought that really helped us to start to build a team. And Lockie's in great form. He's playing good football, and he'll be there for a long period. And to see Brendan go, it's not great from the club point of view. We don't like doing that, but sometimes, you actually behave your way out of a football club, and he did. And
I suppose now you look back on it, he's got his life together. He's not playing football, but he's playing in the country. He's dancing around the place. Seems to be in a good space himself at the moment, Fev. But from your point of view,
I think it's great he's back with his wife and the kids and all that, because life's too short, and to be around his kids and do all that, I think that's great for him. Monday night footy against the Saints tomorrow night. Do you like Monday night footy? Yeah, I do. I think the next 5 to 10 years we'll see it pretty much penciled in. I think every Monday night. I think that's where I love it. I must admit. I think that's where we're heading. I think it's great for the supporters. It allows us to have a look at footy over the whole weekend. Maybe if you play on Thursday or Monday, it doesn't matter, but you get a real good feel of the opposition, and I enjoy it. Big game too against the Saints. It is a big game. They're in really good form. They took it up to Hawthorn last week, and towards the end, Hawthorn got on top. But they're in really good shape. Hey, one final one to you. The last couple of weeks, you rested a couple of blokes, Judd and Cruiser. Then Cruiser had to come in. You had to say resting. Is that as much about trying to not give your opponents a backhander, or are we getting to the stage now where people understand that you can't kill your top players, that sometimes they need to have a rest? Are we or we got one side of the fence at the moment? It's one of those things. Well, it's a tough one. I think when you're playing a season, players are sore, and when is the appropriate time to give them a spell? And I think coming back from a road trip from Perth is a tough one for players. We played after 6 days, had to go to Perth and come back. We thought it was a great time to have a look for Chris. He felt sore. He had Crowley running around and getting into him all day. So I think that was a great opportunity. Matthew's knee has been it's something that we have to manage now after his ACL. And Jared's had a couple of operations over his time. So I think all clubs have general soreness, and I think if you look back in the last 2 years, you've seen that. Players, stepping out, even the younger kids, their loads are too high, and there's been red flag to say they need a rest somewhere. And I think from club's point of view, we have to manage our list. Geelong last year got it perfect.
Yep.
They absolutely did it brilliantly, and great work by them. But I think that's a lesson for all the clubs. And the way this season's panning out, I think it's going to be maybe the healthiest list at the end of the day might actually have the best chance to win.
No doubt about it. Well, Brett, congratulations. You must feel pretty good at the moment. Not just the way the Blues are going, but you just feel, it looks from the outside, you're on the top of your game and feeling confident. Family life's great. Everything's happening around you. It's a good time to be where you are.
Yeah, it is. It's good. We're up and about, I suppose, as a football club, but we know that don't take your eye off the footy, because someone will be there to bowl you over very quickly.
Good on you, mate. Congratulations. And as one of the great blokes in footy, I think everyone's delighted to see you having some success.
Thanks, mate.
Good on you, mate. Brett Ratten joining us, the Carlton coach. Tomorrow night's going to be a great game against St Kilda at Etihad Stadium.